Restaurant owners of Reddit, what do you do with customers who can't afford to pay for their meals? I worked in a place where a guy left to go to the ATM. They don't take credit cards, and he left his date there and never came back for her. The owner felt bad and just let her go. I wonder if they were in on it together. It's possible, although according to the bartender she was pretty upset and an employee had to give her a ride home. I definitely wouldn't play dumb in a bar for 3 hours to get a free meal. I used to work at a TGI Fridays in an urban neighborhood. On Friday nights, things would get rowdy and tons of people would come in and switch tables mid-meal to talk to friends at other tables. It got very confusing which patron was ordering good at which table and who you had to give the check to at the end. One night, I had a six-top that ended up entirely empty, and no one had paid the $200 plus bill. I located one person who I knew had been at the table earlier, and asked him who I should give the bill to. He claimed he had never been at the table, called me a racist, I'm white, he was black, and he tried to leave. I was 100% sure he had ordered at least one meal and one drink at my empty table, so I got security before he got out the door. We always had 3 security guards there on weekend nights. The guards detained him and called the police. The guy started pointing out other guys he said were at the table with him and should share in the bill. Everyone was pointing fingers at each other, but no one would pay a cent. Finally, the cops arrived. Well, one cop, a 4 feet 11 inches female. She took one look at the situation, said, "If this bill is not paid in the next 5 minutes, someone's going to jail." They all dug into their pockets, and 5 minutes later I had $200. No tip. My father has a bagel store deli. He has been known to just tell people to take the food and have a good day. Especially when the town was out of power for a week after Sandy. His credit card machine was down, he had a generator but no internet, and ATMs were down all over. Everyone except one have come back and paid on their own. Some paid extra and thanked him for being trusting. The word of mouth has been amazing. For the guy who didn't come back, my dad is out $3.75 for a Taylor ham, egg and cheese, NBD. No held ID, no cop calls, just trust. Sometimes I like to imagine in my fantasy world that doing things like that, "Hey, no sweat man, come back and pay if you can, otherwise don't worry," leads to more cash even if they don't come back, word of mouth, than calling the cops and getting someone arrested over a bagel with bacon and cheese. At the hospital I work at, the man who runs a small coffee stand knows medical staff are in a hurry. He says every single time if you take more than 30 seconds to hunt for cash, "Don't worry, bring it next time." It seems to work great for him. Gets loyal customers and people go back over and over again. They leave their ID at the restaurant and go get the money or the police get a call. Yep. Wife and I went to a restaurant. She left her purse at home. I forgot I had taken my debit card out of my wallet because it cracked in half and I was waiting on a replacement. After I became thoroughly embarrassed, they copied down my driver's license info and I told them I would run by a bank in the morning and bring them cash, which I did. They were actually really understanding about it. So if I borrow someone else's ID, I can essentially eat at a restaurant for free? BRB, gotta go find my brother's wallet. I think there are easier, more well-known methods than adding identity theft to the list of crimes committed. I comp it and tell them to come back and pay me when they can. Don't worry about it. Either I gain a customer for life or I don't, but things happen and it's hard enough to be a person on the planet without being scared that somebody is going to get ya for making a mistake. An outlook on life such as that will get you a peaceful and enjoyable time on this planet. Good for you and the people with whom you interact. I once had to leave my younger brother crying in a restaurant while I drove home to get my wallet. I'd just turned 16 and he was almost 10. I'd gotten my driver's license and wanted to take my baby bro to get a burger and milkshakes. I came back and he was drinking another milkshake and wearing a silly chef's hat. He'd made friends, I paid the bill and went home. The manger had threatened to sell him into slavery, but I just assumed he was joking. I'm not a restaurant owner, however our owner likes to hold meetings and the same topic was brought up. He brought up a story of how a business meeting was being held at their restaurant. A guy offered to pay for everyone's meals. Time came to pay, and the card was denied. At our restaurant, we are to say everything is our fault. The server came up to the guy and said that our machines did not read the card correctly. And it is our fault. They had the guy give them their address, and they mailed them the tab later on. On the way out, the guy came back and thanked the server and the manager for not embarrassing him in front of his coworkers. Hospitality is the best thing at our restaurant, and it's highly appreciated by our guests. I used to be a waiter. If they are willing to leave collateral, then I would usually let them go and get the money. In the odd event of people just refusing to pay the bill, I called the police and then rang around every bar and restaurant in our small town and had them blacklisted. 2 girls and I, all in our late teens, had a meal together in a family restaurant. When the bill came, we only had half the amount between the 3 of us. I suggested leaving my watch and returning within the hour. They agreed, and I did just as promised. I don't see how they could trust you to return when the hour was up. My great-grandfather and his friend took 2 girls out to dinner in the 1920s in Germany. Before the bill came, they snuck out the bathroom window and left their dates with the bill. If that's how he dated, I'm surprised you were even born. PSSH, my grandpa hid a hot water pouch with chicken soup in his shirt. At the end of the meal, he smashed it and made it seem like he threw up. This was at a very expensive restaurant in Germany, and they had a $200 plus bill. He and his group of 4 ate free. My brother had to leave his wife there and go get his wallet. I asked him why he went back. She slapped me. Pretty sure there's enough Norp out there to explain exactly what happens in this situation. I saw this happen once at an Applebee's, just a patron, not an employee. A group of teens ran up a bill of $150 and couldn't pay. The manager called the cops and they were taken away. Our waitress told us what was happening, still don't know what the outcome was. I own a restaurant. I've had 2 regular customers who, for whatever reason, were unable to pay. They just paid me back the next time they were in. I've been burned by 2 strangers, both women. One, I'm sure she actually meant to come by with the money, but either forgot or got lazy. The other one, I think I got played. She was good-looking, well-dressed, and flirty. I am a sucker. Getting burned hasn't changed my policy. I trust in the goodness of people, especially since they know that they are actually affecting a single person, me, rather than a faceless corporation. One time I went to my favorite hot dog stand weeks after losing my job. I started to order, and then realized I didn't have more than 73 cents left, and the next unemployment check was 2 days off. And the dude says, "You come here all the time. Here's one for free." I said, "Man, what I look like? A charity case?" I took it and threw it on the ground. "I don't need your handouts. I'm an adult. Please, you can't buy me hot dog, man." An older lady came into a restaurant once when I was a cashier. She said she only had enough cash for bus fare, but was hungry and had to wait another 45 minutes to catch the bus. I gave her a tray with a small baguette and an apple. Normally, each would retail for $1 something, but were free for employees because overhead was probably 10 cents. So I didn't mind just giving them to her. Saw an episode of Cops where this couple of, well, rednecks, wanted to take a doggy bag from a buffet restaurant. There was a sign saying you couldn't take anything out from the buffet, and it had escalated to the point where they were refusing to pay unless they were allowed to leave with their leftovers. All the restaurant patrons were waiting to see the outcome when the cameras and cops arrived. The police told the couple they had to pay. The sign said no leftovers to be taken out, and if they tried to leave without paying or refused to pay, they'd be charged with dine and dash. The restaurant patrons all applauded. I'm shocked to hear how many people called the police. I worked in a restaurant, and if somebody's card was declined and they couldn't pay, the meal was on us. Seems like simple human decency to me. I guess it would be another thing if it seemed like they were trying to defraud us. But for the one lady who came in and was terribly embarrassed, the last thing I could do is embarrass her even further. This happened to me at the Chipotle near my college. I paid and was walking out the door when the employee who was working the register ran after me and told me my card had been declined. Thinking it was a mistake, I went back to the register and tried again. After 3 or 4 tries, I was digging around desperately in my wallet for money or another card, either of which I had, and the manager came up and said, "It's okay, let her go." I was mortified and I just so much appreciated them letting me get out of the humiliating situation. We politely asked the patrons to follow us into the back, and they generally assume they'll be washing dishes or waiting around for the police to arrive. This is just a simple rouse, of course, to get them behind the padded, soundproof kitchen doors, at which point we club them over the back of the head and drag them into the freezer room. Since we stopped purchasing meat from local ranchers, our profits have gone way up. Did you run out of money to pay? What did you do? Leave a comment and subscribe to the channel if you want to see more videos like this one.